Hi, welcome to my channel, the Bag Maker Society. Thank you so much for joining me. My name's Deb, if you haven't joined me before, and if you have, welcome back. It's lovely to have you here. Today's video, I am going to be sharing with you how I've been making shoes. If you follow me on social media, you will have seen that I have discovered a new passion for making all things shoes. In today's video, I will be making this pair. I bought this fabric at Festival of Quilts the other week, and as soon as I bought it, I knew I wanted to make a pair of shoes with it. Thankfully, it was quite a wide piece of fabric, so I have plenty left, but these shoes turned out exactly how I wanted them to. So yeah, I'm going to be taking you through how I made these. So if you want to make your own, you can too. I have previously made other pairs. I will share them with you. I've made these in the past. These ones have binding on. I do like how these look. I'll show you them from this angle. I do like how the binding looks, but they actually irritate me a little bit when I wear them, so I can't wear them for long. So I much prefer how the turned method works. I have made this pair, and again, for anybody who knows me knows that I love these because they are Highland cow. They have Highland cow labels on the back. These ones have proud member of the sew-ciety on the back. But yes, I much prefer the turned method of these. So in my way of making shoes over the last few months, I've developed a few different sort of techniques of making them, and then the lovely, I think it's Tara from OO Creations, or it might be OO Creations, I am awful at pronouncing things, came out with a pattern that basically was kind of how I do things, and she has a much better way of writing everything down. So I'm going to link to her pattern down below, so that you can follow her pattern as well and go and download it from her website. And yeah, I'll share with you where I got my fabric from, some of the tools that I use, and I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get started. Okay, so let me show you exactly what I am going to be using. This is going to be my exterior fabric, and I have a fat quarter of linen fabric, both of which are just plain standard quilting fabrics. And I have approximately the same size of Styleville, which is what I'm going to use to quilt my exterior fabric. I have my pattern pieces cut out. I do have mine laminated because I'm a little bit extra. I have my soles and my insoles, this pair of sort of pastel rainbow effect laces, and I also have a black pair of laces, so I'm going to see which ones I prefer once I am done. I have a set of grommets. I have multicolored grommets, so I can decide which colors I want to go for as I'm constructing. This set does come with some setting tools, but I also have this tool which I can't remember where I got it from. I think I actually got it from a haberdashery shop which was close to me, which is now shut, but if I can find anywhere where you can still get these, I will put a link in the description box down below. I have a hole punch so that I can punch the holes ready for my grommets. I have some Tex 45 thread, which is what I'm going to be using throughout my construction. I have some waxed thread, a leather needle. Well, it's from a leather kit, but it is actually a very pointy needle, so it will go through cotton. And I also have a sewing awl. I have the sewing awl so I can show you how to use it. It isn't my preferred method of construction, so I will be using the needle, but I will show you how to use the sewing awl if that is how you want to put yours together. And I also have two labels which I will be adding to the back of my shoes as well. I also, because I like to glue my outers to my soles, will be using some contact adhesive. You don't have to glue yours in if you don't want to. So in order to determine how much fabric you're going to need, I've got roughly about a fat quarter, and I know that this is going to be enough for me because if I put my fabric piece on, so this is one shoe, and if I kind of work out roughly where this comes to, turn it over and roughly position that for my other shoe, and then position my tongue piece, and then roughly position my other tongue piece. I know that this is roughly the right size. It's probably a little bit too much, but because we're going to quilt, it's going to reduce, so I'd rather have too much than too little. So now that the quilting is all done, we are ready to move on to our next step. So make sure that you have your fabric the right way up, if there is a right or a wrong side, and turn it over. So I have just trimmed back the bits where there was a little bit excess fabric from the foam. I am going to place my pattern on the top part of my foam, and I'm just going to use a couple of my weights, and I'm going to draw around if my pen is working. And this is why I like to have mine laminated, because it does make drawing round so much easier. Now I need to mark this little bit here. And there we go. So I'm just going to mark this, pull this out of the way, and I'm just going to mark an R on it so that I know that it's the right. And then we need to flip it over and repeat that process. And then we need to draw out our tongues. So I am going to place this on an angle because I want my diamond shape to go in the same direction. So I'll just put a couple of weights on to keep it in place. And again, just need to make that little mark there. And mark that as our right, and flip it over and do the same. So now that we've got all of that marked out, what we need to do is get our lining piece and put these right sides together. I'm just going to find my pins. I'm just going to pop a couple of pins in just to keep these in place. And what we are going to do is we are going to sew around the outside of these pieces, so the pieces that would need to be turned through, so not the lines that will go against the edge of the soles. So this is the bottom line on the left piece, this is the bottom line on the right piece. So we will be sewing this top line, this top line, this top line, and this top line. Okay, so I have literally just sewn all the way around these upper seams and left the lower seams alone. So I am going to cut these out now. I'm going to cut the bottom seam first. And I am going to make this little nick. Just check that it has on the other side. Fab. Not going to take this out, but what I am going to do is just mark it on the other side. So because it's flipped, I need to flip the pattern piece. And just mark this dart. And then I'm going to trim this back with my pinking shears. So I'm trimming it back to probably around about 1/8 of an inch away from that stitching line, obviously being very careful not to go through that stitching line. If you want to sew a second row of stitches, that's absolutely fine, you can do that. So that is our right upper cut out, and I'm going to do the same for the left. So what I'm going to do before I turn these through and press them is I am going to sew these darts. And I'm going to turn these through. So I'm going to turn them through and clip these darts together. So now that's all pressed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and top stitch this all the way around about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, And then I'm going to baste this bottom seam in place, and I'm going to do the same on the tongue as well. So that is my left upper and my left tongue done. I am going to put on my little tag, so I am just going to get some double-sided tape. You can add this to the tongue if you prefer. I like mine on the back because obviously the laces kind of cover it, and I like to centre mine over the dart and then up towards where the arc is, and kind of put it there. So now that that's all sewn in place, I have my tongue done. If you want to put the little tab on, that is in the Jerry Sneakers pattern, this is the point that you would do it. But I am just going to put these two together. A very handy thing to do is to stick a little post-it note with your, oh, just get rid of that thread. I thought I'd done that. Put a little post-it note with your completed upper and tongue with the side that it is. So I am going to move on to doing my right hand side, and I'm just going to repeat the process and do exactly the same. Okay, so now that that's done, we need to transfer the markings over for our grommets. So I am just going to line up. I'm going to do each side at a time. It won't lie flat now because obviously we've got the dart sewn. So I've got it on the right side, which is obviously right side facing up, and I'm just going to line up this edge, and I am going to mark these circles. And just making sure that I can see them, and then do the same on the other side. And then I'm just going to take my punch, and where I've marked those circles, I am basically just going to punch a hole. And it can be quite thick to get through, so I like to give it like a little bit of a turn and a wiggle just to try and make sure that I go all the way through. If I don't, I just use my snips. Obviously, because this material is dark, I'm just double checking those holes as before I punch them, just to make sure that I'm getting them right. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Line it up and give it a punch. Once you've got your holes cut, I'm just going to use a little bit of fray check before I put my grommets in. So I am just literally trying to be very careful here because my fray check does come out very quickly. Just try not to make sure I get too much on. Then I'm going to add my grommets in. Oh, do I want to go black or do I want to go purple? Purple. No, I think I'm going to go black. So I am going to put the coloured side in from the right side and push that through. Now my hole's slightly smaller than my grommet. I then want to put the back on. Get my little tool and I want the flat bit against the coloured bit and the little what I call a knobbly bit against the back and push. And hopefully that is set. And then I'm just going to work my way along. Just making sure that the fabric is all pushed down. Okay, so we are ready to start constructing our shoes. So I'm going to start with the left. And like I say, I do like to glue mine in. This is completely up to you. You don't have to do this step. If you don't want to, you can omit it if you like. I'm going to use contact adhesive, but you can use beacon glue or another sort of glue if you prefer. You'll find on the sneaker kit shoes there are marks and placements for the middle, for the ends of the shoe, and also for the notches, and these will line up. The holes on here on the sneaker kit shoes, on the sneaker kit soles, these line up with the holes on the sides of the shoes. The ones that I'm using don't, but that's fine with me because I just make my own holes. So if you're using the sneaker kit shoes, you can make these holes and it will make it easier when you come to put the shoes together. So I am going to get a little bit of glue onto one of these glue sticks. These totally take me back to primary school. And I am just going to start putting some on the inside of the shoe. I am going to fold my outers in half where the dart is, and there is a line in the middle. There is that on the sneaker kit soles as well. And I am going to line up that dot with that line and push it into place. And I am then going to push the outers into the soles. So I am making sure that the bottom of the outer goes up to the bottom of the sole, hopefully you can see that, and is pushed against, it is pushed against that sole. And I'm literally going to set that aside to dry for a good half an hour. I'm going to do the other one. I'm just going to add a little touch more glue at the top here. Just got glue all over my finger. Yeah, and I'm gonna set these aside to dry. Like I say, good half an hour. I'm gonna do the right hand side while this is drying, and they can both be drying at the same time. Okay, so now we're ready to start stitching. So like I said at the beginning, I am actually going to use just a needle and thread, but I am going to show you how to use the awl if you'd prefer it. I will link to a one as well if you want to go and buy one. So there's lots of different ones on the market. This is just the one that I've got. I've got the thread loaded onto the bobbin inside, and then got it threaded through the needle. So basically what you'd want to do is start off in the first hole and go through. It is a little bit difficult to push it through, and I am going to pull the sort of loose end through first. And basically I'm not going to pull it all through because I'm not going to do I'm not going to sew mine that way, but you'd want to pull enough thread through to sew the entire shoe. So as a rule I tend to go double the length, so I measure the amount that I'm sewing twice. So what I would then do is come back out and then come into the next hole and push through, and then I'd push through fully and then pull back a little bit, and that creates, trying to do it, this is why I don't actually like using the awl, because I find it really fiddly. It creates a little loop, and what you do is you get the end of your thread. Again, you could put a needle on this to make it easier, and you thread it through that loop, and then you pull it back through and then back into the next hole, and the loop that is created you would just thread through, and you would work your way all the way around. Like I say, I am just going to use the needle and thread because I personally find it easier. I find the sewing awl really fiddly. I actually just find using the sewing needle a lot easier. So I am just going to go and switch over to the needle and thread now. Okay, so I have switched over to my needle and I've threaded with the wax thread. I have tied a knot in the end, which I'm just going to make a little bit shorter. And I am literally going to start on the, you can start on either side to be fair, but I am going to start on the inside and work my way to the outside. And I am going to start in this first hole. So I am starting on from the inside and coming to the outside. and literally just pulling it through, and then I feed my needle through to the other side, pulling it through. It is a little bit harder on the hands to do it with the needle and thread than the sewn awl. If you have any issues with your hands, the sewn awl might be a little bit easier, but I don't find the needle and thread too difficult. Because on these soles, these holes are a little bit wider, I actually come back through the same hole. I literally make a tiny little stitch and come back through the same hole, and then I pull it really tight, and then I come to the next, and because I've glued it, I'm not having to keep the outer in place. So I literally make a tiny little stitch, come back through. If you were using the sneaker kit, you would literally just be following the instructions in the pattern and stitching via that method. So like running the stitches all the way around. The sneaker kit have a double row of holes as well. I am actually going to be going round my sneakers twice. So once I have put my tongues in, I will sort of like rethread my needle, and I will go around again, just basically to make sure that my my outers and my soles are extremely well attached. Basically, I don't want them coming apart. So I just work my way around the outside. So when you get round to this bit, obviously what you're working in the heel, it does get a little bit more restricted. So now that we've got this outer in, we need to pop our tongue in. So again, we need to make sure that we have our left. So having the little post-it notes to keep us right is very handy. And I am just going to find the center. Let's make that a little bit more visible. And this just gets lined up with the center mark, and you will notice that it just folds, sorry, it just sort of overlaps with the exterior. So you can glue it in place, which is what I'm going to do, because again, I like to have mine all sort of very neatly in place and secure. Okay, so now that that's had a bit of time to dry, I am just going to carefully work my way around stitching this tongue in. Just rethread my needle because I got it all tangled up. Yeah, so now that that is all, like, it's probably not 100% dry, but it's probably dry enough. I'm just going to be really careful so that I don't sort of dislodge. And I just continuously like move the soles around so that my position is better, that I can get in to see. These bits where you're going through quite a few layers, sometimes a bit difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knot it there. I am going to rethread my needle with enough thread to go all the way around, and I am going to stitch round again. And the reason, like I say, I do this is because literally I want my shoes as strong as can be. So I literally measure around the shoes once and then double my thread. So yeah, so I'm literally just going to go, I'm going to go around again. Okay, so I've gone around the outer again and sewn a second row of stitching, so those outers are secured to the soles really securely. I have inserted the inner soles and I just need to put some stitches to secure the outers to the tongues. So there is in the pattern some marks where you can do this, but I kind of just do it by eye, and I like to do it just right next to this first grommet. So I just put my needle in just kind of next to this first grommet, and I just kind of put the outer over the tongue and just sort of see where it lies, and then just pop my needle in next to it. I've doubled up my thread. It's just got a bit tangled, so it is nice and secure, and I just put in a few stitches to keep it secure and in place. I'm just going to knot that and then just do exactly the same on the other side. And then I'm just going to lace these up. And that is both of my shoes now complete. So I hope you've enjoyed sewing along with me making this pair of sneakers, or as we say in the UK, trainers. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. There is a more detailed video for these sneakers or trainers in the Bag Maker Society Club. If you fancy coming and joining us, please do check that out. There will be a link in the description box down below. We do sew alongs, we do weekly socials, masterclasses, skill builders, all of those sorts of things. So yeah, if you fancy that, please do come and check it out and join us. And yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out with me today, and I will see you on another video soon. Bye.